Guys, welcome back to the show of Investing Without Regrets, the show where we talk to real estate investors, business owners, and we talk about their journey, their failures, their success, and we get actionable steps for you guys to start your own business or start your own real estate journey. Today we have our guest, Mark Archambault. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Mark, I know you as owner of Black Horse Construction, Archambault Investments. I know you are a father of Austin. I know that you are a successful real estate investor. You own, I believe, more than 300 units. You've been doing this for 45 years. You like to compose music and play some instruments. But before the successful Mark you are today, who was Mark Archambault in his early days?
Well, I was, like most people, when you get out of high school, you're kind of confused and not sure which direction you're going to go in. And for me, school was not my favorite thing to do. It just seemed too controlled. And I did suffer from dyslexia, so I maybe struggled a little bit that way.
Really?
So I went to trade school, and my father was a swimming pool contractor, and he had a business that was swimming pool construction, repair, service, and then he also had a shop, did repair work on motors, and he also had a furniture store. So I worked odd jobs, sweeping the warehouse floor, digging ditches for him. And then I saw that his mechanics made really good money. So I went to trade school. I grew up in Los Angeles area, and I went to Hollywood High. They had a night school class, and it was swimming pool technicians school. And I learned about chemistry, electrical, plumbing, mechanics. They taught us business practices because it was geared towards becoming a swimming pool contractor. And by completing that course, I qualified to take the contractor's license test in the state of California, which you had to have to be a independent contractor. And I did, and I passed it, and I was a independent contractor, and I did that for a number of years and saved my money. And then I was working on wealthy people's houses, and they were building pools, and they had swimming pools, so I would I would do work for them, and I realized that a lot of the wealth they had accumulated from all different ways, but they all had real estate, cash flow real estate, and I thought that is something that I probably should go towards. And then
That was their common thing.
Yes.
Real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I had a friend of mine that he lives in Sun Valley, Idaho, and he was taking a construction technology course at the local junior college, El Camino College, and it was a top-rated program at the time in the nation. And I was kind of lost a little bit, and he just said, "You got to enroll in this class." Well, there was a waiting list, but he was pretty good friends with Professor Dutro, and he took me into the class. I always say, grab me by the ear, drag me into the classroom, and said, "We got to get this guy enrolled in your course." And it's a 2-year course, and it was every day, almost all day, if I remember correctly. And we actually built a house from the ground up, and then we would spend 3 days in the classroom and 2 days, 3 days in the field and 2 days in the classroom, talking about what we do and how to do it. So I learned how to build every aspect through that course, which was a life changer for me. And as soon as I got out of that, I went into, I started my own business as a contractor, carpentry service, and contracting.
Okay. So this was back in what year when you started?
Late 70s, and early 80s.
Okay. All right. So what was once you made that decision that you had to make your own business or start your own business? What was that first step, even though it felt like really small?
I think the first step was filing for a fictitious business name, a DBA, and I had to run an ad in the paper. Back then. You'd run an ad in the paper, and then they would publish it. And if nobody had a claim to the name, and my first company name was BTS Enterprises, if I remember correctly. It might have been BTS Construction. I can't remember which one came first, but BTS stands for Build to Suit.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I saw it on a sign driving down the road once, a vacant lot, and and the sign said, "Build to Suit." You know, they own the lot, and they would build whatever you wanted. And I thought, oh, I like that name, so that's where I got it from.
Yeah, yeah. In those early days, what was one of your biggest mistakes or regrets in business?
Let's see. I would say, it was pretty consistent until I got into investing. That's when I started making my mistakes. But in the beginning, it was just businesses. I would say, as a business person, the early mistakes that I made were that I didn't interview the clients like they were interviewing me. So if somebody had a remodeling job they wanted to have done, they would get bids, and they would interview the contractors, and then they would, decide on what contractor they're going to use. Well, there's predators out there, and they're rare, but clients are predators too, and they will take advantage of you, and whether they don't pay you or they twist the contract, or so I think I became a victim, not often, but occasionally, and I learned the hard way to eventually. I was so excited just to get a job. My first job. And
you took any bid,
anything, and then
any offer that they gave you.
Well, at the beginning, you were just basically living from month to month.
Yeah,
and just making ends meet. So, but I became smart after getting screwed a couple times. I started interviewing clients, and I would turn jobs down. They would, I'd say, "No, thank you." Now it's so easy to do. I mean, the internet has a history of everybody, and I just didn't know that you could do that. You go on the internet, you can check on, see if they have lost, if they're litigious. You can, you see everybody's history. They do. The real predators do a pretty good job of covering it up, but you can't cover everything up nowadays.
Oh no, so, there's so many. I mean, the internet can
integrity and your integrity is really important.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's probably the first mistakes that I made that I learned the hard way, is start interviewing your clients.
Yeah, early. And then to feed a little bit about on that point, it reminds me when I started my own business along with my brother, who was my business partner at that time, when we started a repair shop. Mm-hmm. We were a couple of young kids. I mean, I think 23, 22 at the time. He was 24, 25. And when we opened up the shop, anybody that came through the door, we were just excited to have customers and clients, right? And as we started getting bigger jobs, we have never seen such a big bill, right? $1,500, $1,800, $3,000 for a job, whatever it was. People would start bargaining with us, the customers. They're like, "Oh, well, I can only do this. I can only afford to pay you this much." We were in such a need, and we were so excited that we took it. And we should have been a little bit more strict on our policies, but we were living there, month to month, and we just took any little job, and we got so much taken advantage of. And as later throughout the years, we got a little bit more experience, and that's when you learn from those mistakes. But you don't learn until you actually do it. You can see all these things, but that's how you learn. And I think at the beginning stages, every business owner probably gets a little bit taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But, so
Especially if you're a nice person.
yeah, and that's hard because you cannot change who you are. You cannot change, and you're nice, and we trusted so many people. Like, can I make payments? I'm like, yeah. I think we just went with our gut feeling. Like, yeah, you can make payments. We lost so much money that way.
Yeah.
Taking payments from people, and we think about it, like, gosh, we didn't even vet them. Why did we even trust this person?
Right.
But hey, that's how we are, and that we lost so much money that way. Mark, so starting anything brings fear. What fears did you battle in the early stages of starting your business, and how did you overcome them?
So yeah, one thing that I was reading recently, and they were saying, do you start off with optimism or pessimism when you're starting a new business? And optimism can make you complacent, and probably some of the biggest mistakes I made were when I was overly optimistic. To an arrogant point sometimes, like, oh man, I got this, I've been doing it so long, and you just go, I know this is a no-brainer or whatever. So there's the dangers of being over optimistic. And pessimistic, it can paralyze you. So when a good deal comes in front of you and you're just scared because you just got bruised, and so it's dedication is what you should focus on, is being dedicated to learning your market, and dedicated to your goals. And that's where I started becoming, I think, overcoming some of the problems one way or the other.
Become more informed and
get educated, being
dedicated
about getting educated about the market you want. I like to focus. So, but some people like abroad. They like diversification. For us, we do morph. We do grow, or we may, like for instance, when we first started off, it was easy to get in when you bought something that was it was structurally sound, but it had a ton of deferred maintenance. So it's scary, and you get rid of a lot of the competition that way. So we preyed on that. And when the market was really bad, people are desperate, and they're more willing to make a deal. And you don't have as much competition. So we focused on that. That was our niche. And then as we got through that, we started realizing, brand new construction doesn't have all the maintenance issues that are ongoing. Usually you don't have any problems for a decade.
Yeah.
So we're on that right now, and we've built our own community, and new homes, and we're getting ready to. We just bought a duplex lot, and there's a duplex there now, and it's an older building. We're just gonna tear it down and put a brand new building. It's a duplex we've done 10 times. It's a townhome style duplex. So we'll rent them, but we won't have any problems for a long time. And before, we would have taken what was there and made it work. Well, part of that is financing, or the resources to get it done. Sometimes you got to take what you got and make it work. But when you can afford to do it the way you want to do it, that's fun.
That's
It's like an actor that gets over the hump, and I get to take the the best roles, and I get to do it, and I get to tell them how I'm going to do it and whatever, or writers or directors or whatever. It's kind of that way. We're in that market now that we can do our own thing, and not be as worried about it.
Great. So fast forward today. You started in the very early in real estate. You were how old when you started your own business, Mark?
I was probably, let's see, 19?
19?
Yes, 18, 19,
Okay.
yeah.
Over the years, that's, over 45 years in investing or having your own business, but over the 5 years, how has this evolved? Where are you now? What do you guys specialize, or what's your business look like? as of today?
Just it's primarily about cash flow real estate that we make double-digit returns on. Right as soon as we finish whatever it is we're going to do with it, whether it's remodeling or building it. So we focus on that, and we don't sell, we keep. We used to have to sell, and there used to be a formula out there that was, they called it sell, keep, sell, keep. I don't know if that's still out there or not, but you would sell a couple properties and you'd have enough money to keep one, then you would sell a couple properties, keep one. And we would never keep anything that didn't pay us. We don't want to buy something just to own it. We want to buy something that's going to make us money. Anything that cash flows is generational wealth too. It's not only for my wife and I, but my son, his families. What we have now will last for generations, not just And we liked. We do cover everything: commercial, billboard, sign. We have at one location. We have a new project that's in the city, Boise City, and if it's approved, it'll be high-density housing, 5 stories, 50,000 square feet. First floor will be commercial.
Oh, really?
And so it's mixed use. Mm-hmm. We have to go through a zoning change, and we're hoping Boise is suffering from affordable housing shortages, and we would be a big solve on that. And we're not a drain on the system by saying we want tax credits or deferments or anything like that. It's we designed it so it makes money the day we finish it. Mm-hmm. We already have 20,000 square feet of the space spoken for from people that heard about the project and came to us and said we want a floor or a space or whatever. So we pre-leased, and we haven't even we just barely got the concept plans completed. So there's stuff like that. I would say we just started we started a tech company about 8 years ago, and we started developing an application that collects data that we can collect for our nonprofit, or it's a not-for-profit. It's not a registered nonprofit, but it's a not-for-profit. Everything we make, we put back into it for people with addiction disorders, and that app is owned by Archambault Investments, and it'll be a for-profit project, but the housing portion is not-for-profit. Everything goes back in. So that we've started developing over the last 8 years, and we have collected data from 20,000 people that have addiction disorders. That data is if it was analyzed properly. Mm-hmm. Now that AI is so prominent, we hired a couple statistical scientists to start taking that data and we could, from the past and then also going forward. Biometrics, I'm going to go into the weeds pretty deep here, but some people understand it. So biometrics is a science that they can wear this device that will monitor your heart rate, your oxygen levels, your whatever. And so they're going to analyze this data with these people with addiction disorders, and they'll see patterns. So with that pattern, they can predict when you may relapse or get to a vulnerable state. And you can have the qualified professionals come in and either counsel you or talk to you or get you, or peer support, get you out of that rut. So this is all new science, and we have several engineers that are working on it, that we put this team together, and and we have also some pretty good sized companies that are interested in it. We won't sell it to them, we'll lease it to them, and state of California. I mean, not state. The state of Idaho is one of them. We're going to be pitching it to because it saves lives. It saves incarceration. It saves trips to the emergency room. I mean, the savings is overwhelming for what the cost will be. The cost will be very minimal per person that's vulnerable.
Geez, that's great.
So that's really exciting, and that's developing really fast. We spent 8 years collecting the data, and now we're starting to implement this biometrics portion of it. So it's real estate and
different
and some tech that we're just going to get into. I'm not a tech person, but I learned through being a contractor and being a real estate investor that if you have the right team, you can do anything.
Yeah. And it's about building a team. And how'd you guys come up with this idea?
Well, my son, he went to Boston. He went to college in Boston, and he studied business and automation. And so when he graduated with a double degree, entrepreneur and business automation, we put him through school, and the deal was that if our company paid for his schooling, then he would give us the same amount of years it took him to get through school. Took him 5 years, and so he had to dedicate 5 years to us. Well, that was 10 years ago. So when he came back, he a lot of his friends went in investment banking or venture capital shit, and they chew you up and spit you out, man.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of freedom coming to work for us. He's our operation officer, and he loved what we were doing with our real estate, and he knew that it was his future, his kids' future, the generational part.
Right.
Grew up with it, grew up on construction sites
Yeah.
from the time he was in a baby carriage. So it was in his blood. He just goes, this is what I want to do. But he says, you guys are in the Stone Ages, hand doing our stuff. And he says, we got to automate this thing. So it was his idea. And when he first came to me, he goes, Dad, I need $250,000 so I can get this app built. And I said, I'll give you 25. They don't work. It's funny how you put a boundary on certain things, and he did it. He did it. But of course, we got a lot more than that into it. But it got the ball rolling to a point where I could see huge value in it. So it was my son that got us into the tech world.
Okay, that's great. So on your construction side, are you guys still doing like new construction? Are you guys still doing remodels, or what does that
look like?
look
The
like?
construction company, the last project we did was in 2008. So, but we kept the entity because it's a corporation, and it is now a property management company. And
Black Horse
Construction Inc. is a property management development company. So we do, develop properties, but we hire architect, engineers, contractors. We just manage it. So it's property management, not just on the tenant level, but on the development level.
Okay. So throughout the years now, what's your guys' business look like? How many units do you guys have across? Is it just Idaho?
He introduced the two of us, while he was still in college, and we're still partners and friends to this day. And so I was working for their investment group, and they invited me to join in. And as a contractor, I would, in the beginning, I didn't have enough money to invest with them, so they said, well, just take your contractor's fee and throw it into it. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. So the first project I did was that, and that was a 8-unit apartment complex that was built in 1913, and I do have some, my wife and I, we have some rental properties that we're a limited partner in California, Los Angeles, and that goes back to my early days. and I think one of them I accumulated before I got married. But and I was one of my best friends went to San Diego State, and his roommate was a real estate agent, and he ended up becoming a CPA, and he was a business major, and so him and his family pooled their money together, and they were third generation from Los Angeles, and doctors, lawyers, very professional people, and my friend Craig Cognac, he passed away, but he said, you need to meet my friend, the contractor. And Steve was a book guy, and numbers, and, I don't think he knew which end of a screwdriver would work. So he did a whole bunch of work. And
so you still own that 8 units?
I still own it
today?
To this day, and it's
1913, so over 100 years, huh?
Yeah. And then and I've owned it for over 40 years. So with him, I'm one of the partners, but I stepped down to a limited. I used to be a general partner. I stepped down to a limited partner. Once we started refinancing, we just fixed it up. We refinanced it, pulled our money out. There was a time when Los Angeles went through a very severe real estate retraction, where property values dropped to less than half. And that's what happened on that 8-unit apartment building. However, we did, because it paid us, we could wait it out. And we did have a balloon payment with the owner, because the building wasn't financeable. So the owner was a Holocaust survivor, an elderly gentleman.
Oh, okay.
He said, I'll finance it because we're going to fix it up. So we put the money into fixing it up, and then we were supposed to refinance it and pay him off. Well, the market collapsed, and the building was worth less than what we owed on it. Still made money. So we went back to him and said, we can't perform on our contract. And we said, we can just sign it back over to you. You don't need to foreclose on us. And he said, I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I'm 80 years old, And he said, well, let's just extend the note until things get better. And that's what we did. So we got lucky.
Yeah.
We had somebody that was not interested. He could have easily have taken it away from us, and struggled through it, waited, but he was just a really, really nice guy, and he liked us a lot. We used to hang out. We'd go over to his place and chat with him. His wife had passed away, and anyways, so he gave us a good break early on, and that building is still paying us. LA is getting harder and harder to deal with.
Yeah.
That particular building, there was a program, I don't know if they still have them or not, but Los Angeles is very strict with rent control, which is very difficult for a landlord to survive in, when they're dictating to you who you rent to, how you, what you charge, what your profit can be, and they squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. Well, because the building was in such sad shape, they had a program that if the building inspector came out and said, yeah, this building is not habitable, even though it had tenants, then you could apply for substantial renovation decontrol, if I remember correctly. This was 40 years ago. So it was my friend. He was one partner. The other partner was his sister, who was an attorney, and then me, I was the contractor. So we applied for it. I couldn't have gone through that. Maybe Steve could have, but his sister was a very smart lady and a good attorney. So she navigated us through that substantial renovation decontrol, and we were off LA City rent control for life, which makes the building worth more as long as the neighborhood holds up. And then from there, we did a bunch of other projects where I was the contractor. They would buy these fixer-upper apartment buildings, and they were back in the in Hollywood's heyday. they had these big, because it was in Hollywood we were working, at these big suites, you know, and they were like apartments, but they were 1,100 square feet, and they were, you know, 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms, and beautiful oak floors with walnut inlays and cove ceilings, just gorgeous old, you know, 20s deco buildings. And so they would go in and they would turn them into 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom units, and I was the contractor that did the work, and they were very successful with that. I think they own still a lot of those buildings.
Okay.
And then we found two of those 2 triplexes on 2 lots right next to each other, or they did, and so they invited me to invest on that, and we tore the triplexes down, and we had approved plans for 19 condominiums, and we were going to rent them out. Well, we only built 18 just because of the logistics of it, and we wanted a rooftop, and they had balconies, and it was right downtown, great location. And I was originally the contractor for that, but I moved to Idaho before we started construction. And but I'm still partners in that one. I have a very small, limited partnership.
So you have very little rentals or properties in California, and the majority of your portfolio is here in Idaho.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it just in the Boise area, or is it just all over?
We have property in Idaho Falls, Pocatello, rental properties, I should say, in Idaho, Pocatello, Twin Falls, Lewiston, Boise, Napa, Caldwell.
Okay, and that consists
and
of
Eagle,
and that consists of a combination of like single family, multifamily.
A little bit, just a mixed bag. You know, multi-units, single family, commercial. I have a little, and then we have a one property where we're going to be developing the high density.
Oh yeah, that you mentioned.
We have a digital billboard sign that.
Okay.
You know. We bought that property a long time ago and land banked it, and we were going to do a tech building there, but that was just before '08. I had the plans, I had the financing, I had the contractor, and I was watching the LoopNet vacancy rates, and I just was watching for commercial, and HP was interested in it because they had a R&D site next to it. We had fiber optics on the property. We had 800 phone lines. It was just strategic location, great spot. Multi-level commercial office and R&D. And I was watching the vacancy rates go through the roof, and I pulled the plug right at the very end, and everybody was so disappointed or mad, you know, because they put all this time there all outside. Oh, we're gonna cruise right through this recession because we got this, you know, this nice project. But I just said, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, you mentioned something there that's really I've heard about it, but for those out there, and I'm not familiar with it myself, but for those who are out there that listen about land banking. What is land banking? Can you explain us a little bit about that?
So what we would do is we would find in the bad times when property, well, anytime, you can always find a good deal in any market. I am just saying that.
Yeah.
We have never not bought something every year. Good, bad, doesn't matter. There's always a deal out there. If you're looking, you'll find it. And every year we accumulate or build something, you know, every year. So this particular property, it was a strategic artery going in downtown Boise, and it had we don't buy anything unless it pays us too. Remember that?
Right.
So it had a billboard sign on it. So that was like a golden ticket. The sign was worth what we paid for the property, more than what we paid for the property. So it was it was a hardship case, bad market, slow. The owners, they they built those PlayStations for kids, Rainbow
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
slides and whatever. So they were going to put their fab facility on this site. And I don't remember which one it was, but one of the owners got sick with cancer, and they needed to sell the property. It wasn't about the money; it was just about getting rid of, whatever they had. So they had to cancel their project, and we were just in the right place in the right time because we were looking, and we scooped it up, and so we just we put plans, went through the whole entitlement thing, which I just described, and then we pulled the plug when the market went south. But the sign still paid us, and we leased it to Lamar sign, and at the time they would pay us 5 years in advance, the rent for 5 years in advance, one big fat check. Now they just do it a year in advance. And they've always tried to buy it from us. We just won't sell. So we just kept extending the lease. Now we have a 20-year lease. Well, we're probably 15 years left on our 20-year lease. They've offered us a boatload of money just to buy us out, but we won't sell because, like I said, we don't sell our cash flow assets. We do not. So that's land banking. You're saving it for another time. Another land banking that we did is we bought a duplex that had a flag lot that was over an acre in the city, in the center of the city, so infill lot. So, and we bought it from a hard cash lender, Hopkins Financial. So they had foreclosed on the developer that couldn't perform, and so they knew that we were, even in bad times, we're active investors. So they came to us and said, "We'll give you a great financing, not hard cash financing, but really good financing." Cause they were just trying to unload stuff off their books to balance them out. Lenders have to have balanced books. So we got that back lot that had already been split by the developer that was going to develop it. And we just thought, we'll just sit on it and slowly work through it, start the entitlement process. And so we just banked it, but the duplex was cash flowing and it paid us to sit on that lot. Some people buy the land and they feed it. That's just their philosophy or their strategy, but it's not ours. It's got to pay us. Something's got to be on it that's going to make money for us.
Okay.
And that works for us.
Okay.
It may not work for everybody, but for us, it's worked.
So land banking, the way I understand it, is kind of just something that you're keeping it for right now as a savings, but in the future, your plan is to develop it later. And
if you buy right, it's a savings because it's usually land and property appreciates faster than real appreciation. I mean inflates more than inflation. Inflation I think averages out at 2.5%,
3%.
Yeah, at 2-3%, and real estate's more like 5 or 7.
Yeah.
So you're right there. You're beating
inflation.
Yeah, you're doubling your money just sitting on it.
Yep. Okay.
You just got to afford to sit on it.
Sit on it. Yep.
You still have to have liability insurance. You still have to have pay the taxes on it. But if
the return on that is great.
Yeah, you got to factor that in. So land banking does pay off for people that don't need have cash flow into their strategy. Okay. And you'll see storage facilities do that. You see warehouse, industrial, commercial, a lot of places like that.
They can weather the storm, but they're betting on the future of the appreciation of that asset.
Or they have too many projects going, and they will sit on it because they know it's cheap now, and it may not be cheap. It won't be cheaper later. So, and they know they're going to get paid for sitting, or they're factoring in that they'll get paid for just on basic inflationary history. Okay. Yeah.
Now you're actively Are you guys still actively investing, or is there like a certain other than that building, that high rise
Yeah,
in
you
downtown
know,
Boise? Are you guys just like
you
at a
would,
pause?
yeah, it's interesting because you would say, all right, you don't need to do it anymore,
Right.
but we enjoy it, and then a lot of what we're developing now is for addiction disorder projects. So it's more of of a community service, and the more you give, the more you get back. I've noticed that, throughout my life. There's funny stories I can tell you about that, but so yeah, every year we buy or build something, and we always can find something that the numbers work on. And like I said, we just bought that duplex that we're going to demolish and put 2 new townhomes on it, and we're going to rent those out to people that have addiction disorders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you see now that you're president? We talked a little bit about your past, the present. What do you see the future of your business? Where do you see your business going?
We'll continue to grow, and I think with just cash flow properties, and then we're going to develop this biotechnology, that biometrics technology that we'll be able to lease out to colleges for research, Harvard.
Yeah.
They're into studying the addiction disorders. I went to a conference in 2015, and Harvard got together with Mass General because the fastest growing expense for all the major hospitals throughout the country in 2015 was dealing with overdoses. So, and it's a huge expense, and it was rapidly growing to a point where they were saying we got to figure out what the solution is. So there's a and one of the things we were just getting into was addiction disorder housing, and so they said that's the foundation of solving this problem. And we were there with the National Alliance of Recovering Residents and a national group, and Harvard and UMass put this conference on.
Yeah.
And they were, it's a pep talk saying, keep going. And then the Department of Health and Human Services, the federal, was there, the director. And so they were, trying to keep us motivated, because it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. And you can imagine dealing with people with severe disorders, which are, which lead to mental health and then homelessness.
Yeah.
So if we can solve that. And so this biometrics is exciting to us because it's a for-profit company that has huge potential. I mean, $100 million, we don't know yet, but I mean, huge potentials with leasing and then also the benefits socially. That and one of the things they could do is we can it reduces the incarceration. So it's like using technology instead of jail cells or prison cells. So to monitor these people that have this severe disorder that always gets them in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, if we can predict by their biometrics when they're going to fall off the rails, we can get them the help they need, and it saves everybody a lot.
And that just doesn't go for a certain drug addiction, right? I'm assuming it goes for like alcohol, drug, any
kind of addiction, sexual addiction. It could be gambling. It could be eating disorders. I mean, it's
any addiction overall.
Anybody that has any kind of a cigarettes, so
okay, so it's not just for drug abuse or any alcohol.
That's just the most that's the biggest impact.
Yeah, of course.
We have the largest database, probably in the country, definitely in the state. So we have just this pool of, we provide housing for, I'm going to say 2,000 people a year. So that is huge. We can start finding these patterns, and it's exciting. And we're going to get paid big bucks for it.
And you're solving a problem and at the same time getting paid. What a best way to do it.
So there's a reason behind, because when we first started the housing for people with addiction disorders, we were going to do it nonprofit, and it'd be our kind of our service work. And we went to an attorney, and the attorney said, who had family members that had struggled with it, and he said, we had a business plan, and we showed him the business plan. He goes, you don't need to be a 501c, 501(c) or whatever it is, a nonprofit. You don't need to be it. You can afford to pay your taxes, and you don't have the the red tape. Some of the other nonprofits, they spend half their time dealing with the red tape of the regulations of a nonprofit, because it's almost like a public company, because the taxpayers are funding it. We're not. Our tenants are our clients are funding it, and we also pitch to them that we pay property taxes. We any profit we have goes back into it, but when we do have profit years, we take and pay tax on that profit. And so, a lot of these people have been taking from the system their whole lives, and now we tell them, you're giving. Not only that, almost all of them, once they come into our housing program, there's so much peer support, they're working within 45 days. So they're off the social support. And now they're paying taxes. Now where they live is paying property taxes. We would save,
they provide more
hundreds of thousands of dollars each year if we were a nonprofit. But we choose to put the money back in. We put more money in, and some of them are subsidized, but it's limited. They get subsidized for a short amount of time, because through our program, they're expected to get on their own 2 feet. Anyways, but
that's so good that you're doing
the biotechnology or the biometrics technology is just one of those things we've been given with this not-for-profit program, and all of a sudden this thing develops. And I was telling you, the more you give, the more you get back.
That's
so it's when you're generous, it's funny how it comes right back. And more times than what you gave out.
That is so good. I have a friend of mine that he has an alcohol addiction, and he's gone through a lot of stuff, and all he wants, and I had to take him to a rehab place, but he's doing a lot better, and all he wanted is just some support and a little bit of guidance, and now he's doing really, really well. So there's
lots of programs out there.
That's good. That's so good that you're doing that. Well, Mark, we can talk a lot more about business, but people want to, we learned a little bit about your story, and people are out there probably asking them, like, well, it must be nice. He already had it made, and it must be nice to be in his shoes.
Get over the hump.
Over the hump. But talk about a little bit of the challenges. What was some of the biggest, or one of the biggest challenges you faced in life and business that almost made you quit?
So I would say, good point. Because there was that time where I was like
people just see the success, but they don't see the struggles. What was that?
So early on, before I self-educated myself financially, I was just going 100 miles an hour, and I was thinking that, and so we were buying houses and fixing them up and selling them. That's the highest tax rate, buying. But sometimes you have to do that to make a living, or you got to have clients, as a contractor. I much preferred being my own client, by buying a distressed property, fixing it up, making it look nice. As an artistic person, I loved that, and then selling it to a new person that was so excited to get this new home, and then getting paid to do it. You know, so that was, and so we were expanding rapidly, and to be able to do that, we had to leverage heavily. And over leveraging is like giving a child a loaded pistol.
Okay.
So, and I was a child, and I had a loaded pistol, and I went over leveraged, and then you know, the market goes through any kind of little dip, and if you're sitting on multiple properties, thinking, no, they'll sell, and then so he goes, I'm just going to get it started on my next one, even though it didn't sell. I used to when I first started, I wouldn't go to my next project till the one I finished sold. So, but then optimism, could be your worst enemy. I was over optimistic, so I was doing multiple units at the same time, and then when the market went through a dip, I was over leveraged, and I had to sell everything or get rid of it for and make no money, and I lost probably $1 million.
Oh my God.
In a matter of 18 months.
Holy! How do you overcome that, losing $1 million?
So.
What's the mindset behind that?
So I was worth more dead than I was alive.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
So it was probably, you know, just the stress, the humiliation,
the shame.
The shame. Most of it was, you know, in my head. You know, who gives a crap what other people think? You know, so. I just started doing some research. Okay, how am I going to negotiate myself out of this without filing bankruptcy? I did not file bankruptcy. And Trump, whether you like him or not, he wrote a book about the art of the comeback, and he talks about, you know, going to the people and just saying, hey, I'll get you your money, but you're either going to have to wait, or you're going to have to take less, or you're going to have to, you know, whatever, or we're going to lease these out, or whatever. Or I sold some stuff on lease options. And one particular bank, Pacific Heritage Bank, we had 3 townhomes that we had sold them. I mean, we sold them before they were done. And we were right across the street from Boeing, and it was Boeing aircraft. And they were engineers. They worked their asses off building planes, you know, engineering planes and stuff. And they just wanted a house right across the street. So we, it was a strategic, great deal we got on a piece of property. We built these beautiful little townhomes, sold them right away. And the LA riots happened, and the market just, you know, collapsed. So we couldn't get an appraisal for what we sold the property, even though we had buyers that were willing to pay. We couldn't get an appraisal for what they were sold for. In my eyes, if they're worth what you sold them for, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the bank can't do that. They have to use, you know, regulations. So what they had to do was they had to go, okay, you get nothing, but. And then we'll deal with these people, and we'll you know, resell them. You just get nothing. So it was like a short sale, I guess you would call it. But it wasn't so it wasn't a foreclosure, it wasn't bankruptcy. It was just renegotiating the terms.
Right.
And I learned that from that book that I read.
Okay.
And it was everything's negotiable. So we basically negotiated our way out of it. And then I had a client. Well, he was a relative, and he was a very successful real estate developer and cash flow property guy. He's focused on light industrial and industrial properties. And I was complaining to him about struggling and all the, you know, what we had to go through. And I was putting my bags back on. I was a businessman. Now I'm back to being a freaking carpenter. And I was at a family gathering, and he said, I want you to build me a patio cover. And I said, I'll do it. So I was building his patio cover. He played golf every day. And then he'd come home in the afternoon and he'd preach to me. And he was one of the founding members of Torrance National Bank, which is where I grew up in the city. So he was banker, he was a developer, he was successful on every level. He had his trials, and he told me a lot of his stories too. But we would sit, and I would, at the family gatherings, I would pick his brain, kind of like what you're doing with me now. And he said, we're selling out of California. We're liquidating. This is a long time ago, 30 some odd years ago. And he said, we've lost faith, and we're going someplace where it's only up. And he goes, it's this place called Boise. And he goes, I want you to go out there and look around. He goes, we need somebody that can take a look at one of our potential buys and give us a 5-year forecast. They had a group of investors, and he was a syndicator, so he put the people together. So small group though, like maybe 10 people, 12 people.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, small syndication. All people that they're friends and associates for years. So that's what I would do. I would look at their buildings that they were under contract or thinking about buying, and then I would say, you're gonna need a new roof, you need a new parking lot, you need a paint job, this is what this is gonna cost, and I'd give them a 5-year forecast. So, I had a job, if I wanted it. And then I could do all the maintenance on their commercial buildings that they bought here. So there was a two-way street. And, I grew up on the ocean, and I was a beach boy, and I said, no life exists east of Pacific Coast Highway. And I said, I'm not leaving. And he goes, then you're going to die here slow.
Oh, my goodness.
And he goes, just go. And he had set up a meeting with his real estate agent. So I had a partner at the time. We flew in, and he took us around. We fell in love with it. And I was here, sold my house. And, well, first off, my partner and I say, how about I stay here? Because we had a couple jobs. We were doing a job for Mattel Toy, and we had Cal Piers, state of California retirement. We had a couple little jobs going. So I said, you go, I'll stay here and finish up what we got, and something else comes, I was kind of, and he goes, no, I want to stay. I don't want to sell my house. So we flipped a coin. I lost the flip. Told my wife, and she was pregnant and emotional, and she's going, "What have you done?" So we did it. We came here. To Boise, and it was the best thing that ever happened to us. Good.
Before we jump,
so that tragedy turned out to be an opportunity. So everything. And I learned from that. So,
and everything happens for a reason. We just don't see it at that moment.
I am a firm believer of that. If you're blind and you put your blinders on, then it's going to be a tragedy. That's it. But if you open your eyes and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Over leveraging.
Yeah.
And
you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And
So that was the biggest.
What's your wife's name?
Antoinette.
Antoinette. What can you tell us about Antoinette? How has she been?
My life partner. We've been together for 40 years. Journey. Huge support. I can't think of any time that we've. Every partnership, has arguments and stuff like that. But I couldn't tell you. Any major problems or arguments we've had, with each other, they were trivial. When enough time goes by and you don't even remember what it was about. So that's how minor it is. But at the time, it seems huge. Yeah. But no, we did struggle. We wanted to have a big family, we couldn't. We were only able to have just our one son, and we were, he was our miracle child.
Jeez, yeah. Do you believe she's been a key to your success?
Oh,
Mark.
Yeah. So in the beginning, she was a executive secretary for Northrop. She was a assistant to the securities director, and what they would do is they would hand out she would be in charge of handing out top clearance secret stuff, and she worked for the securities director for the Black World when they were developing these bombers and stuff like that. So she had a great job. She worked downtown, Century City, the top at the Northrop Towers, and she just wanted to have a family. So we were working on that, and then so she would just let me do my own thing, and I'd say, honey, we just bought another piece of property, and I'd go, oh, okay, fine. Where do I sign? So she was not fully engaged, and then I think leading up to that, over leveraging was on my own. So it was kind of like pulling the rug out from underneath her.
Yeah.
She finally did get pregnant. She was thinking, God, I was thinking I wouldn't have to work. And I said, no, I still think we can do this without you working. And we came up with a plan. You're going to have to sell your BMW, but she said, I don't care. I'll take a bike. And she put a little baby rack on the back. And she goes, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. But I said, you can start doing our construction company's books. You can start working as part of the investment team. And she got a real estate license. That didn't last long because she didn't like that world.
Yeah.
But she was engaged in everything. And then it just seems like when we started having the two of us work together, we stopped making mistakes. It seemed like two heads are better than one. And then when my son came back, I even wrote it on my blog site. It's coming up. It's three heads are better than one. And it just seems like the way we work it out is, if two say it's a go, it's a go. If two say it's not a go and one does say go, doesn't. So it's majority rules, and we've stayed out of trouble that way.
Yeah. Well, it's been really good talking to you, and thanks for sharing and being open about your life experiences and not holding anything back. Like I said, we always see at the success of other people, and we never imagine that they've gone through struggles, we've gone through any obstacles. We always often think it's just like, oh, they just got so lucky and everything lines up. But listening to your story, I mean, I can't just believe, when you're reaching success, having a news like that can be so devastating. So what do you have? People never think that you have to sacrifice anything to reach success. What have you sacrificed to reach your success, Mark?
Gosh, I always put faith, family first. So there was a period of time, though, that I was obsessed with getting over the hump and working 7 days a week, probably 80 hours a week. And everything was behind that without even realizing it. And my wife kind of woke me up. She just said, I don't want to be married to somebody that when they are home, they're numb. They're like, a zombie. So, we went to a counselor, and the counselor, I thought for sure he was going to take my side. So all I need to do is get over the hump, and then we'll have all the time we want, which is true. But the marriage counselor, and we had great insurance, or we did through her work. So he said, the most successful people find the time. Yeah, there are plenty of successful people that are obsessed, and a lot of them are very lonely. But he says my experience is with and I think he was a psychiatrist for the Northrop executives, if I'm not mistaken. And anyways, I've seen plenty of successful people make time for family, and what I've seen is that you become more efficient and you become more productive if you give yourself the downtime. So he said, dinner as a family, 5 o'clock every night. You can't work on every weekend of the month. You can have one weekend of the month and never on a Sunday. So, and you have to work no more than 10 hours a day. And so he said, just do that for 30 days. And let's see if you're still keeping, do you keep notes on? I say I had a little pad that I kept every little detail on, a little diary, if you will. So I said, and let's take a look at that diary before and after, and let's see what it is. And he was right. Yeah, I was getting the same amount of stuff done. But with a lot more efficiency and a lot more productivity.
Yeah.
With less time and still having, giving my family time.
Yeah.
And it was happier.
Yeah.
So, that's advice that I would give is, don't overdo it.
Yeah. And to follow up a question on that, one of the questions I always like to ask is, what advice would you give to your younger self, to the younger Mark?
Oh, education, and don't just think logic's going to save you. I was a very logical person. I was a problem solver. So, as a carpenter and a contractor, people would hire me because I was good at solving problems. So I would say that educate yourself financially. And you can understand the tax system so you pay the least amount of tax, because if you legally, people say, oh, you're a tax evader or whatever, and it's not true. The system's designed for people to be able to still pay tax, but it just gives you they want you to reinvest. And that's the whole why the system is set up the way it is. It's a pretty good system, believe it or not. So you can take that extra revenue and you're stimulating the economy with it.
Yep.
So educate yourself on how that system works by podcasts like this, listening to your show. There's other ones. Jason Hartman, I think I talked about in that questionnaire you gave me. He's really good. Robert Kiyosaki, his program, and they teach you about that, and having an accountant that does what you do or is invested in it. At least, and our accountant was a landlord, so our accountant now is a landlord. So he used to say to me, "Let's clean up your income. Instead of making money as a contractor and paying a big chunk of it and all the taxes that come with it, that kind of income, your income as rental income is taxed at a much lesser rate. And then your property, as it accumulates value through appreciation and inflation, you can refinance and pull that cash out and use it for other projects. And the IRS doesn't tax you on that. You're pulling your profit out and you're not getting taxed on it because they know what you're going to do with it. Yeah. You're going to reinvest it.
And because
but every time you spend $1, it goes 10 different directions.
Yep.
The escrow company, the blinds company, the carpet company, the painters, you think about all that.
Yeah.
So the system's set up the way it's supposed to be set. You hear people talk about, oh, the billionaires, you got to, tax the hell out of them. If you tax the billionaires, they pay the same ratio that we do on their income as the middle class. But what they have this accumulation for whatever reason, they've discovered something or they developed something, and they get tax deferred in the beginning because you can only get paid on tax. And if you're reinvesting that money to keep that company growing, like Amazon or Apple or huge HP, whatever, all those companies didn't pay tax when they were first in that hyper development stage. Now they pay billions and billions of dollars in taxes.
Yeah.
Elon paid several billion.
And he thought he was going to get an award. I saw one time when Clay was like, hey, I thought the IRS was going to send you an award for paying,
no
breaking
Americans
a record.
ever paid the amount of income tax that he has. So anyways, back to my point is, billionaires employ millions and millions and millions. The Walmart family,
Yeah.
they employ, over maybe between 2 and 3 million people.
They are the biggest employer in the world, I believe, and Walmart is.
And they have they have one of the most advanced educational programs. So they take people from boxing to clerk to managers. Most of their managers, I think they are rose to the ranks, and their managers, they can make $1 million a year if their store produces and they get their bonus quotas and stuff like that.
That is such good advice.
Their truck drivers are the second highest paid in the industry.
Yeah, and people, it's such good advice that you're saying, educate yourself, because people, I heard this once, how do you know if you're a conservative or liberal, not to get too political here, but if you complain more than what you give, then you're liberal. If you give more than what you complain, then you're a conservative. And more people usually just don't lack of education. They lack of education, and all we do is complain. But it's honestly, if you look at it, it's not a billionaire's fault you don't have a car today. It's not the billionaire's fault you don't have a house today. It's not the billionaire's fault you are in debt or you took poor decisions. It's not their fault. So we should have more ownership of our mistakes and just take accountability for that and get educated. Because in reality, it's just the education's out there.
So there's a lot of people that have a great job and they love it, whether they're a scientist or a
teacher or whatever.
Whatever, yeah. And that's great. But you can, invest your money in passive income that you get to keep more of that income, so that wealth will grow faster, or put it in a tax deferred retirement account that you pay your taxes deferred. They were saying, I was reading this article about, someone said, see, the chat GPT or whatever AI thing says that billionaires paid their share, that we would solve all of our social problems. And the thing was that that money that if they were to take that away from them, those millions and millions of jobs would be reduced. We'd have a higher unemployment rate. They don't realize that. And they were saying the billionaires get to defer their income, and middle class doesn't. No, that's not true. Middle class can defer their income, and they're saying
if they get educated,
they pay a lower tax rate. No, they pay the same tax rate on their income. And if you are a teacher, you can buy a rental house.
Yeah,
you can buy one house a year for 10 years, and after that's your retirement. You could still have your teacher's pension, but now you have financial freedom.
Yeah.
And those houses, you're aggressive about paying the principal down on those houses, and all the tax benefits that you get from owning real estate, it comes off the top of it counters your I'm not an accountant. But it does counter some of the taxes you're paying on your teacher's salary.
Yeah.
Or whatever salary.
Yes. Yes. And this is the way I see it, Mark. I always say, it's like, instead of complaining, well, start contributing, but also, what is it that they know? And it's just a basic question. What is it that the rich people or the business owners know that I don't know, that we don't know? And the information's out there, but what is it that they know?
Get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
Every small business owner, or all these, like Apple, HP, even Amazon, started in a garage, right?
Yeah.
And the efficiency was so important.
Yep.
No waste and fraud or abuse. They had people that if they were stealing from them, they got rid of them. If they were abusing their benefits, they got rid of them. So they focused on. That's why Elon was picked for, the Doge or whatever it is, the accountability thing, because he was so good at that.
Yeah.
That's. If you just be efficient,
Yeah.
Make sure there's no waste and make sure there's no fraud in your little organization.
Yeah.
And you will excel.
And the
At
reality,
least most people do.
yeah. And the reality is that you
If you have
should
a good idea.
Yeah, and the reality is that if you have a good idea and you actually put it to work, you should be rewarded. That's why they're rewarded with, some of these bigger entrepreneurs, business owners
Dedication,
like Jeff.
passion, don't be afraid.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean
I wouldn't risk more than you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah, they bet it on themselves and in their ideas. But man, we can go on and on on this, Mark. It's such good talk.
Back. I'll come back.
Yeah. I wanna shift to a little bit of a focus on actionable steps. People listening to this show, they're gonna say, okay, well, Mark, you already have the systems, you already have the knowledge, but we're in a different market today. They're gonna talk about, 30 years ago it was a lot easier than today. I'm pretty sure you're still finding deals out there today in the current market.
Just closed on one 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It was the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Before 4th of July. So yeah.
Good.
And that deal was sold. It was in escrow, and it fell out of escrow, and the seller, who was also a real estate agent, called our agent and said, I know your clients are always looking. We're dedicated to one agent, and that's powerful too, is to, your dedication to somebody that's really good at what they do. So those deals, before it even fell out of escrow, he just called us and said, it was sold sign on front. He says, tell the Archambos, they're going to have first shot at the deal. And we took it sight unseen.
Good. And that's so good. So people can, like I said, people are going to say, oh, well, he's got everything. There's different strategies, but can you give us actionable steps if you didn't have the systems, the team that you have right now?
Sure.
If you had
starting off
30 days to find your first deal, how would you do it? And how can people take action?
The internet is so powerful. And it doesn't, and you don't have to, there's sometimes you find deals that are just, funny how good they are. Mm-hmm. For example, in Idaho Falls, we were looking for income properties, and Antoinette was at the hotel, popped up Craigslist, and some guy in another state inherited this duplex and wanted to dump it, and sold it for a fraction of what it was worth. It did need work, but he had a home inspection and everything, and it was super cheap. It was and it was cheap enough that we could just pay cash for it. Almost anybody could have. So that is just being actively looking. And when you're actually looking, you're out in the community, you're talking to people. Kiyosaki used to have this, and I think one of his books I read, he would ride his bike or jog in a neighborhood that he was interested in, and he would talk to the people. Yeah, I'm looking for something. Anybody that wants to sell something, let him know. Church, talking to everybody in church, getting his haircut, whatever. You just spread the word, and
of what you're doing.
Yeah, and you got to keep spreading word because people forget about it. So that's why I like focusing on an area, not just saying, okay, I'm gonna, I'll take a whole state. It's just for us. This is what worked. It may not work for somebody else, but so we would focus on one area, and we were just constantly there. And then people knew that we were there, and they were like, there's always somebody, a divorce or a death or bankruptcy or something like that, and they were just, I just got to get rid of this thing. And so they go, well, our Archambos are everywhere. They're always looking. So that's one form of advice. And then the other thing is people say, you got to have money to make money, right? Well, what we found was that in the early days, if you found a good deal, the money came to you. Mm-hmm. Banks were willing to finance it. Family and friends or whatever. I mean,
private money, hard money,
whatever. Yeah, you can. Hard money sounds hard, but it's not when you are. We never had to use hard money, but I know a lot of people that have become very wealthy off of hard money, because they needed to get a deal done, need to get it done fast. Hard means you're just paying a few points over market. That's all. And it's because the property needs something
Right.
to get it to where the
Traditional lending.
lenders will lend on it. And I'd say guard your credit, preserve your credit at all costs, because that is worth its weight in gold.
Okay.
I mean, and you don't, we in our LLC, it's written in our bylaws that we cannot leverage more than 50%. It's in our bylaws. So we cannot buy anything new if our leverage is beyond that, if it's over that 50%. We have to wait till that dwindles down. There's no distributions out of the LLC until it's in the lower. We always keep it really, right now it's lower than it should be. It's probably like 10 or 12%. That's not good, because you do want leverage, because what you're doing is you're compounding, you're beating inflation, and because you're always making money off of that. There's this phrase that Jason Hartman has. It's called inflation-induced debt destruction. So if you're leveraged, not over-leveraged, inflation is at, for real estate, say 5%, and you're controlling, say $4 with one. In the early stages, you gotta do a at least 25% or a third down, which we would do in the early days. So but still, that's not over leveraging. I'm talking about, borrowing 100% on multiple properties and thinking they're all going to sell. That's a bad strategy for us. It was. But if you are controlling $4 with one, that's how fast you're gaining.
Yeah.
Just off of leverage is a powerful tool. I think it's one of the most important smart toolbox items you can have as a real estate investor. There's people that get to a point where, and for us, our equity and our principal payments are going in faster than we can borrow. So that's why our debt ratio is so small. We're going to try to get it back up, because then we're hedging our bet and making money off of inflation, just the daily inflation of reality.
Good. Yeah, that's so good. So anybody that wants to get out there, just to summarize, anybody that wants to get out there, the first deal the next day is just talk to people. Let them know what you're doing.
Put a business plan together so you understand what you're doing. Script.
Focus on what you're
2-minute checklist.
Yeah, on what you're looking. If it's single family, multifamily, whatever it is.
Flipping houses if you want to do that to get started.
Whatever. But focus. Put a plan and talk to people. Talk to agents. Talk to family members, friends. Let them know that you're looking for a fix and flip or whatever it is, right? That's the powerful thing. And you are right. Talking to people is so powerful, because now they know. How are they supposed to know you're looking for a deal if you never put it out there? You
can throw stuff out there on, ads and stuff like that. We found some really good deals sitting in a diner looking at the, at the local paper in the classified section. Found a couple lots that were really acreage property that we bought and built farmhouses on, and they've never had a day of vacancy on them. So stuff, you find deals like that. Someone just, they don't. A lot of people are reluctant of agents because of the stigma that may come with it. There are the good ones, and all the years I've been doing it, are the minority. That's for sure. They're 1 in 100, but. So I understand why some people don't want a real estate to be dealing with a real estate agent. There's wholesalers you can deal with. They're a much different, persona without the pressure. Or you can, do it yourself by running ads and stuff like that. So those are the people you want to look for if you're going to be buying from. There's a lot of times you're going to save right off the top because they're discounting it because they want a quick sale. They don't want to pay an agent. They don't want to be dealing with an agent, and they don't want people trampling through their house.
Yeah.
We've got some really good deals. We've
Yeah.
got some really good deals because of that.
Yeah. Good.
They're hoarders, or they're embarrassed,
Yeah.
or, you know,
They're
there's a mess or
ashamed.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's to your advantage.
Good. Yeah. You're 100% right on that. On this show, Mark, the reason I want to talk about this is investing without regrets is because most of the times we start getting like a little buyer's remorse. We're like, oh, should I have invested in that? Should I have done it? What is something that you have invested in your life that you do not regret?
That I do not regret.
You don't. Like something that you have invested in your life, whether it's you or in your business or something personal or a business or a property that you said like, hey, I invested this and I don't regret doing that, taking that investment.
I don't have any regrets on any of the properties we have right now. I mean, and I haven't had a regret on anything in quite some time. I mean, I want to say decades. So, and I can't think of. I think I'm trying to think of a regret that I have. That I didn't turn around into an advantage through at least the knowledge that I got from it. So I just can't think of anything right now. Yeah, I can't think of any regrets right now.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. That means you've made bold decisions and you live with purpose that you don't have to, feel any regret. And a lot of people, don't have those decisions, and later in the future. All right.
So so I had a friend of mine that, a golf buddy, and he used to be he was the chief electrical inspector for Boise City, and then we became friends, and he was our chief maintenance manager. So basically what he did was work for Boise City during the day, and then after hours he would get all these, all these properties that we have, and he would the different managers would text them in with the problems that we had, and he would dispatch them. So he was a dispatch manager for us for years. And then he got a really good job up in Alaska because he's a smart guy, and he's a licensed contractor, licensed electrician. And he went to work for one of the oil companies in Alaska, and he does 6 months there on, 6 months off. And I think he does electrical design. He was a field guy. Anyways, he was working in the field, and he came to me and goes, I can't, it's so freaking cold, I almost lost my toes yesterday. And he goes, I can't keep doing this. And he was having this open conversation with me on the phone, and one of the bosses overheard it. So that's a whole other story. So he says, I gotta have the freedom that you have. You sit at home, you have more freedom than anybody I know, and you have, you have 600 tenants. How could that be? And so he said, help me find that financial independence. And some people don't have the mentality for it. He did have a few rentals, but they were right in his backyard, and his wife managed them, So I said, I know of this property that is in Idaho Falls that we actually bid on, and we didn't win the bid. And I was refinancing another building, and it popped up as a comp. And I see that the same owner owned it, so it must have fell out of escrow. I wonder if you made it was an 8-unit apartment house. I said, and it needed a ton of work. And I said, you could come on the 6 months that you're down here, you could fix it up, and you get it to where it made money right away, and you can fix it up, and it'd be the beginning, and you can refinance it, pull your cash out, go to the next one, and keystone it. And I said it would be the perfect little turnaround for you. So he, that sounds great. And then I thought, he said, well, I can only come up with a certain amount of money, which wasn't quite enough. and I helped him set up the financing with our guy that we've been using. He's the vice president of commercial lending, First Interstate Bank. Great guy, and he knows we have a lot of. He has a lot of faith in us because he's our primary lending partner. We do have other lending partners, Mountain America, U.S. Bank, and D.L. Evans and First Interstate. But First Interstate by far is our main. I mean, they're just golden. So, anyways, so I said, okay, our Shambo Investments will pitch in 10%. And then my sister and her LLC, she goes, well, I want 10%. And then my uncle said, I want to. So, there was three of us that came up with 30%. And he came up with 70%. And then he bought the building. But he was the general partner. We're limited partners. And that boss heard him saying he was going to quit, came back to him and said, oh, we don't want to lose you. We'll move you in, and you can do electrical design and do your So he got a huge promotion. And he goes, I don't need this headache anymore. So it kind of fell on me, and so I was trying to help him sell it and fix it up, and I'm a limited partner, and I was doing more than my share of what I should be doing.
Yeah, you should.
And I was, he's a friend, so I get it. But I was family, and I had a lot of free time, and I thought, well, I can get this thing over the hump. And the building's remodeled, and it came out right, and a wholesaler bought it, and they have some investors that are looking at it. So I think it's going to turn out. But he whined so damn much. I was like, and I was spending so much time on it. That's when I was saying, geez.
Yeah.
So
he started feeling
regrets.
regrets.
That was my regret. I wish I would have just said, oh, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And sometimes
he's still going to make money on it,
Yeah.
So, but he'll be out of it, and I won't have to listen to him anymore. And he won't take offense to that because he knows he's a liar, and he apologizes to me about it on a regular basis.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
that's funny.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, some people I guess are not meant for that, and they don't want to.
He just doesn't. Yeah, no. Our banker, he was a landlord, and he had bad tenants and evicted them, and they took a dump in the living room when they left.
Jeez.
And he just said, this is not for me. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah, it definitely is.
He goes picking some other shit up. Anyways.
Oh, my goodness. That's funny.
So
yeah, you can
I
come
could
across
get into a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody. But I'll tell you what, it's once you do reach your pinnacle, it's the ultimate financial freedom. And I get to play on my farm. You've been to my farm, and that's my favorite thing to do is play with my animals every day. My wife likes to travel, so she drags me away, and I go kicking and screaming. Once I get there, I'm happy, but I'm thinking about going home. Yeah, going home and playing with my animals. So, it's good.
So, it's been fun talking to you, Mark. We're gonna switch over to the last segment of the show that I kind of maybe we'll play around with this name a little bit in the future, but I call it the Fun Five.
I like that.
Basically the Fun Five is 5 questions, rapid answers that you can come first
Mine
thing that
does
comes
not work fast.
that comes to your mind, and
so it may be a little bit of a silence.
No, you're fine. But I want to know that so people can understand a little bit of everything and how they can educate themselves. So we're going to switch this, and then I think we'll be towards the end of the show. So the first question is 3 books you recommend that changed the direction of your life.
Okay. So I would say Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was that woke me up to how important financial education is, to educate yourself, become financially educated so that you're working smarter, not harder. I think the other one was that I really enjoyed, and it didn't change anything because it came out. I listened to it. I read it just recently, and it's a coffee table book, but it's the illustrated. Let's see, where is it at? Here it is. You highlighted it for me. An illustrated business history of the United States by Richard, I think, Vague, Vague. Really well done book. He was a banker and also a Federal Reserve banker. I'm just kind of trying to think of the name of it. But anyways, so he wanted to do, and he's a historian. And so he said he was shocked at how little was written about America's business history. And it has such a huge influence on the rest of the world. The free market system and real estate is, a big part of it. So he wrote this book. It's just really well done, and it has illustrations, and you can put it on your coffee table, and people pick it up and start reading it, and they really enjoy it. And you turn to any page, read one page, and get something out of it. And I do it all the time. So I love that book. The other book that I really loved a lot was Coolidge by Amity Shales, I think her name is. Anyways, it talks about Coolidge and the challenges that he had after World War I. And, we were going through similar times where there was a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And, we had a huge deficit. We were broke. And we needed to get our house in order. And I think it was J.P. Morgan that he was a financial advisor for Ford manufacturing, Ford cars, Henry Ford. And Henry Ford became super successful and, got to a point where money didn't make a huge amount of difference. And every time he gave back, something would change. He went to the 8-hour work day, and the 40-hour work week. He doubled the wages of his, because he was making so much money. He'd just say, "Well, I want to give back, and I want to make cars cheaper." Lower the cost. Decrease the time for the workers, increase the shifts. Instead of having just one long shift or 2 long shifts, he had 3 shifts, and he would work. Gave them more time off, and doubled their wages. That's unheard of. Can you imagine that, being in manufacturing, and your competitors are like, "You're going to steal all of our work." He doubled the wages during a tough time. And then he lowered the cost of the whatever Model T, Model A at the time, and because he was becoming so much more efficient, and he became super wealthy, and the revenue just exploded. So it's either Chase or Morgan, I can't remember which, but I'm pretty sure it's J.P. Morgan. Went to Coolidge and said, if we lower taxes, I think it will stimulate, because they were raising taxes to make up for this, for our deficit. Let's focus on the waste, fraud, and abuse. Let's become more efficient. Let's lower the taxes. And he says, if it works like how it worked for Henry Ford, I think it's going to work, and it did. We balanced our budget under Coolidge using those techniques. That's really, I think, some of the founding principles of why that happens. Lower taxes, more money creates more stimulation. The more stimulation, it goes 5, 10 100 different directions.
I'll have to look into those.
Yeah,
those
read that book. Anyway, so they're good books. I wouldn't say they changed my,
direction of your life.
Direction, whatever. There was another one that's super boring. It's very difficult. It's What Works on Wall Street. Very painful book to read.
Really?
But it was highly recommended, so I read it like several times. Then I bought it on CD, and I would sit in my jacuzzi and listen to it. And there was a section in there that did change my thought process. And it was the power of double-digit returns. I think it's chapter 13. I'm not sure 100%, but it was too many years ago that I read it. But that was a game changer. What Worked on Wall Street. I can't remember the author on it, but
I'll have to look
if you
into
can get through it or get to that section, because anyways,
I'll look into that.
And I applied that for my retirement portfolio, and it did. It changed it drastically. That technique.
This is going to be a difficult one, but Describe with one word entrepreneurship.
Oh, I think entrepreneurs are they're creators, and they're full of ingenuity, and they are passionate, and all those things I think you can train yourself to have. Mm-hmm. And they're not afraid to take risks. And our system, again, used to be a debtor's system. So if you couldn't pay your debt, you would go to debtor's prison. That makes no sense. You go to prison, you can't pay the debt back, right? Mm-hmm. So once we got our independence, America, then they came up with the system of bankruptcy, which starts you fresh over, so you can erase your debts. And most people think that's I didn't file bankruptcy, but I see the advantages of it because it gives people a little bit of say, okay, well, I know the worst. I'm not going to go to prison as long as I follow all the rules and I'm honest and you maintain your integrity. At least if I fail and everybody coming in knows that risk is there, then I can start over and either go back to being in the business or try it again. Mm-hmm. There's several people that Hershey that he failed multiple times. Truman mm-hmm. had several. One of our presidents had several failed businesses. So, there is a reason for. I don't think he filed bankruptcy, but he did, go broke, and mm-hmm. people, didn't get paid. And I think at one point he lost his house. Mm-hmm. But it gives you the ability to start over. So, entrepreneurs, they can. I think they can be risk takers. They have energy. They have they're creative. And,
That's a good answer. That's such a good answer. What are good habits you believe you need in order to achieve success?
Dedication is which I recommended before. Education, which I harped on. I'm not a very organized person, but I know how to find people that are organized that can, help me do it. But I always get it done. I get my taxes done, but I have really skilled people that do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to be super organized, but I think you have to be, you have to be honest, and you have to maintain your integrity, because you'll get deals. People keep coming back to you. They go, oh, well, at least I know he's going to be transparent on whatever, or I know he'll be fair with me.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm not going to try to take advantage of somebody. And a lot of times we don't care. Somebody will bring us 3 deals, and they go through our broker. Our broker says, here's 3 deals that will meet your criteria. We don't even know I don't care what the price is. We just work backwards. We say, okay, we find out what our needs are, and then we offer on that property, mm-hmm. what it is. Now, if their asking prices meets our offer, then we just go in, like that one deal that we just closed on 2 days
mm-hmm.
ago. I didn't negotiate with him. We never asked for 1 penny less. He just fell out of escrow. He was probably desperate. He was already spent the money, most likely. But what he was asking met our or exceeded our criteria, and we just, okay, we'll take it. Mm-hmm. No negotiation. Now, some people would say that's stupid. I guarantee you that guy, when he gets another deal, he's going to come to us.
Yeah.
No, if I give him a fair price, I'm gonna get that fair price.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the fight.
Yep. That's good. That's
good. A couple things there.
Okay. Most inspiring quote you live by today?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a friend of mine, associate, and I don't think I brought that paper and work with me anyways. Anyways, he I told him I was starting this blog, and I write, and my son edits, and it's on Substack. You can find it. Mark with a C, and my last name ARCHAMBEAU. And I just I wasn't doing it for financial gain. It's free. You can subscribe to it or just go read it. And it's just I'm telling my whole story from the beginning forward, and as I go. And I sent the first version to my friend, and he said, "Oh, this is great." And he said that the older we get, I think it's the more important. It becomes more important that we share our wisdom with our youth for future generations. So that was I like that quote a lot, and that's Kevin Carroll, and he has a book out. I should look it up because I need to plug him because he wrote the book and then kind of went on to other things, but it's a good book. It's pretty technical for me because it's focused on real estate agents and they're analyzing and stuff like these, a little more computer savvy. But the one thing that he did say in there that I quoted was he kind of laughs at it now. He said, "Buy one house a year, and then in 10 years." Your retirement portfolio is set, because later on when you retire, those houses will easily, with the appreciation will pay their way. Mm-hmm. I think it's a financial journey. You could probably look it up. I think he has the book's on Amazon, I think. But Kevin Carroll.
Okay, good. Best piece of advice you have ever received, Mark?
Build it once, get paid for life. So that was another accountant that, my first accountant. And I was a carpenter, and he would pound on his 10 key. And he would, when I'd sit in front of him once a year, and then he would say, "Oh, okay, here's what you owe in taxes." And I'd say, "Geez, I didn't think I'd owe anything, man. I barely made ends meet." And then he said, "Well, find something that you build it once and it pays you for life." And then we were going to form a partnership in building storage units, and he passed away. But I never forgot it. Build it once and get paid for life.
Dude, yeah, that is so
Right
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so good. That is so good. Mark, well, it was
the book from Kevin Carroll is A Journey to Financial Independence. Anyways,
and that's A Journey to Financial Independence
by Kevin Carroll. Yeah.
Kevin Carroll. So, I'm gonna have to pick that up. Yeah. I have plenty of books here, but I have to pick it up.
It's a short read, and I think you're kind of in his camp. Yeah. Okay. So someday maybe we'll, he would come on your show.
Yeah.
He has a really interesting story. Yeah.
Really? I would love to have him. Yeah, maybe you can make that connection, Mark.
I can.
Yeah. Mark, where can people find you? I don't know if you have like a web page. Or,
I don't.
But where can people reach out to you?
You can Substack. If you go to Substack at markarchambault.com, I think it is. You can just type in Substack and my name, Mark with a C, and then my last name's kind of hard to spell, ARCHAMBEAU. It'll pop up. It has an email in there. You can reach me, and you can send ask me questions or whatever. I have a spreadsheet on there that is that analyzes real estate.
Oh, really?
So it's one page. It's on an Excel or Apple numbers. You can just copy it right off of the article that I wrote. It's one page and it gets right to the point because that's the way I am. I'm very simple. I'm a blue collar guy. So I call me blue collar Mark. Anyways, and I want something that gets to the point. I've never had a bank or investor say, "What the hell is this?" It's simple, but it is,
and it's free.
It's free. You can, if you want the live version. All I ask is you make a contribution to our not-for-profit, and that's risingsunsoberliving.com. You can go on there and just make a contribution, whatever, whatever you want, and then I'll send you a live copy, which is it would be and you can email me. Or they'll email me. What they'll do is, and they're going to send you a free gift too, on top of it. Yeah, they have all kinds of little cool things that they'll send you, and they'll send you a free gift, and I'll send you a live version, whether you want numbers or Excel. I'll send it to you.
That is so
all you have
great.
to do is make a contribution to a good cause.
And that's at Substack.com, right? Mark, M-A-R-C,
And
Archambault, A-R-C-H-A-M.
B-E-A-U.
B-E-A-U. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know it's tough. Yeah.
All right, Mark. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom, your journey, your struggles, and what people can do in order to achieve financial freedom, start their business. It's been really, really nice talking to you. Thanks you for
doing the show. I mean, you're going to help a lot of people.
And that's the whole point. That's the whole point for people that are listening to this. They can go ahead and take action, listen to the podcast, and learn from your mistakes. Yeah. So once again, thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for everything.
It's never been easier to be successful. I'm telling you that.
Yeah. And
with all the tools that we have that are just out there.
Yeah, there is.
Information is free now.
It's just a matter of taking action.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of taking action. Yeah. So hopefully people, that are listening to this, it's never been easier, like Mark said, to make money. There's so many tools out there. So go ahead and take action. And if you guys have any questions, always you guys can reach at me at on my Instagram at Mr. Ivan Cassiano, or Facebook Ivan Cassiano. You guys heard Mark. You can reach out to him in Substack.com. And once again, Mark,
you can reach me through him.
So Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show.
A pleasure. And it went a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. And I hope to learn from you and talk to you soon. So everybody, thank you. Thank you so much, Mark.
Take care.
Yep.